From the advent of super moves in fighting games, they've always been about bigger and better moves than the standard attacks, and in being bigger, there were usually a lot more hits involved, so with super moves gaining more and more elaborate cutscenes over the years, the barrage of hits kept on coming with them. But what about those super moves that don't need the extra flair and put all their power into one hit? Or if they do like a bit of flair, they do something more than just attack during their cutscene. I want to find some of the best super moves that do all their work with just one hit. I'll determine this either with the in-game combo hit counter, which usually only shows one hit or won't appear at all for a single hit when the super is done on its own, or we might just need to do the eyeball test if the counter doesn't appear during supers in the respective game. The only restriction is one super per series of origin. Now, let's keep it simple with the top 10 single-hit super moves in fighting games. Number 10.
Farewell. Perhaps I took it too far.
This is an instant kill super, which are super moves that KO the opponent no matter how much health they have left, but they can only be used on the round the character can win the whole match, and use 100% of their meter. These are mostly seen in Arc System Works fighting games, including Persona 4 Arena. With instant kills being a major cutscene, they tend to be more than a single hit, but Naoto has a gun and shows why there'll be a running theme on this list. Two of her attack methods involve a shooting stance with a set amount of bullets before she has to reload, and traps set by her persona, this little flying guy, which take the form of targets that detonate when the opponent touches them. The instant kill combines both of these aspects when she activates it, where she puts targets all over the screen for a few seconds, and if the opponent touches any of them, it activates the shot. Naoto can't move during the time this is active, so it's up to the opponent to run into them. This feels like a Hail Mary move, since they just randomly appear on screen. Maybe a target will appear right where your opponent is moving, but if one doesn't, they can just stay in place and let the time pass. The targets don't move on their own, so there's no real skill to hitting this. The attack itself has a nice pose, but if she's shooting her opponent the whole round, what makes this single shot so impressive? It's bigger and she does a cool gun flip before firing it off, but that's it. Well, you know what? Yeah, that is cool. Carry on, Naoto.
Farewell. Perhaps I took it too far. I'm sorry, but it's all part of the job.
Number 9.
Take the shot. Not bad. We won.
Parasol from Skullgirls is a fighting princess with an entire army at her disposal, but one unseen member of it is her sniper who goes by number 13. When Parasol sees a time fit, she takes out her walkie-talkie and gives the command for the sniper to take the shot. Since the sniper has a clean view of the opponent, it will hit them anywhere on the screen as soon as that gun target appears, but it can be blocked, so it's best to be used in a combo since Parasol is wide open when she makes that call. She takes her sweet time to turn her back to the camera. She's not afraid that she'll be attacked during it. It can also hit the opponent when they've been knocked to the ground, and if the opponent was standing or ducking when they get hit, they're put in a crumple state, where Parasol now has them open for a combo. This attack was also involved in an old Skullgirls community meme when the game first came out, where the voice actresses got together to play their own characters against each other. Parasol's voice actress, Erin Fitzgerald, got frustrated that she kept missing the input of the shot or it would get blocked, until she finally yelled, "Take the shot! Take the goddamn shot!" and beat Peacock's voice actress.
Take the shot! Take the goddamn shot!
As a result, Parasol eventually got an alternate voice pack in the game referencing the gameplay session called Salty Parasol, where she's more aggressively angry with all of her lines.
Come at me. Let's finish this.
And of course, when the super move comes up, she'll yell at the sniper to take the damn shot to make this inside joke come full circle.
Take the damn shot! Child's play.
That's a wrap.
Number 8.
Ready? Now, KO.
Soul Calibur 5 was the first Soul Calibur game to implement traditional super moves, so they were a bit basic for the most part with a few flashy standouts, though a simple super move is still good and keeps the flow of battle going, and you can't get simpler than a single shot. Cervantes freaking shoots you with a gun in the sword fighting game, something bringing a gun to a knife fight. You would think the guy with 2 swords would use them in his super move in some way, but nope, he is good with a bullet, shot at a high speed, on fire, which is actually a visual indicator that the attack is unblockable, but still, a fast unblockable projectile super is a great tool. You can use it for what you'd expect, combos or setups, or just if you catch your opponent trying to get in. They can't block it, so they better be able to sidestep or else they're getting hit. It's such a power move if you catch your opponent slacking with this attack. Cervantes also uses slower guns in his combos, but there is something specifically satisfying about the quick close-up with this gun right before the super finishes in the blink of an eye. So don't take your eye off this pirate ghost, who's actually alive again in this game for some reason. I don't think they ever explained it in-game.
Ready?
KO.
Fear the name of the dread Captain Cervantes!
Number 7.
You will hear the full takedown. Why don't you
There was a period in Street Fighter V's life where new characters did not get cinematic cutscenes for the Critical Arts super moves around Season 1 of the downloadable content, and while I think cutscenes can get too long in modern fighting game supers, Street Fighter V had the formula down pretty well, keeping them around 5 seconds long, so I did miss them for the group of characters that missed out on cutscenes. They tried making up for it by giving those characters elaborate startup animations, which worked well for some, like Super Buff Guile, but the one I liked the most was Balrog, who pumps his fist with steam coming out of it, and then he does his strongest punch forward while telling you to get the hell out of his face. The main reason I like this for him is Balrog has always been about simple punches of raw strength with little flashiness. His supers in previous games that got used the most were almost always a barrage of slow, hard-hitting punches. This super just puts all those blows in a single punch of raw power, and you can see him load all those punches right here when his arm steams. And to boot, I love the pure rage in his voice. He's pissed his opponent is still conscious, and it sells the power in the super to explain why he doesn't need a multi-second cutscene. He's just mad at your existence. I've always liked his English voice, which is done by Bob Carter, who is also Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat 9 and Bojack in Dragon Ball, so his voice has a history of being used with these raw strength characters.
You will hear the full takedown. Why don't you the kill.
Number 6. Kum Heian is one of the most underrated Guilty Gear characters to me. She's a girl who pilots a mech that resembles a giant strong old guy that is such a unique concept. Her extended family lineage only allows men to be head of household, so this is how she circumvents that rule. She's a master of martial arts, so she tunes her knowledge with the old man robot using her strings, turning them into attacks that have high power with little apparent effort. One of these attacks is her super move, Enlightened 3000 Palm Strike. She forms 8 more hands of aura for a circle of 10 hands, which apparently totals to 3000 based on the name, and when all the hands are ready, she just does a simple clap in front of the opponent for damage, since if she were to hit you with such immense power on contact, you might have been obliterated, going with how most of her attacks involve the robot doing a light motion for regular damage. In fact, let's give an honorable mention to her Flick of Doom instant kill, which does a definitive flick to the forehead to knock the opponent away and out for good. I was looking to put this as the main entry since it has the vibe of a single hit move, with Heian spending the duration of the cutscene monologuing, but there's the startup animation that leads into the cutscene, and then I can't tell if her strings wrapping up the opponent count as hits too, so there were a bit too many ambiguous factors, but it's great that she had the palm strike to take the spot.
KO wins straight.
Number 5.
Here we go. I'm gonna make this count.
While Dragon Ball FighterZ might be a better choice if you're looking for a traditional fighting game and has a few single-hit supers of its own, my boy Yajirobe is eligible for this list with his ultimate from Dragon Ball's Arena Fighter Sparking Zero, so I couldn't resist. The samurai who saved Goku multiple times during the King Piccolo arc, and then again during the Saiyan invasion, is coming at us with an ultimate that accomplishes so little, yet also so much, or is it the other way around? Yajirobe initiates the super by not even touching the opponent, he's just in the vicinity, so we're starting the cutscene with 0 hits. He then does a few slashes, but misses every one of them before losing grip on his sword, only to catch it to make it look like it's all according to plan with a final slash. This is a more stylized version of a scene from the manga and anime, when Vegeta confronts him after Yajirobe's sneak attack, and Yajirobe blindly swung his sword with no hits because he was scared and Vegeta's faster, and he only managed to hit Vegeta when someone else got his attention. So this was a nice translation of that scene to make it feel a bit more competent on Yajirobe's part. Sure, he's missing, but him nervously waving you off was just a distraction before the big blow. Plus, him missing against his opponent makes sense, since he's further behind everyone in terms of abilities in the Saiyan saga, and basically all other characters in this game are exponentially stronger and faster than Saiyan saga characters. But really, that single slash is all the mighty Yajirobe needs for the kill.
I'm gonna make this count. Yeah, how do you like that? You know who else can tussle with the great Yajirobe? Nobody.
Number 4.
死を見ること。
まだ修行不足か。
嘘よ。
Who doesn't love that classic samurai move where they slash their sword and the impact of the hit takes effect right as they put it back in their sheath? Hibiki from The Last Blade does this for both of her super moves, so it's a pick your favorite scenario. She has the weaker super where she runs past the opponent in a flash, and they fall right as she resheaths her sword. And for the stronger super, she slashes in front of them, and they have a more dramatic blood squirt effect as she resheaths. Don't worry though, they're okay, unless she KOs you with that move, then you're dead. In fact, she has an extra arcade mode ending related to her supers. The regular ending has her meet a new friend to help her on her future journeys, but if you KO at least 6 of your opponents on the ladder with a super, the ending doesn't have her meet the friend, implying she might have accidentally killed him with one of the supers on the way there. Despite only appearing in one Last Blade game, of which there are just 2, being the second game in 1999, she's actually appeared in the most games of any character from the series. She soon after appeared in Capcom vs SNK 2 in 2001, with near identical presentation on her supers there, and much later, she appeared in the 2019 Samurai Showdown reboot in the final batch of DLC, where we saw the same 2 super moves, but with a shiny new 3D model and cinematic angles, though she adds an extra hit on the stronger super move, so just the weaker one counts here. This game also has a mechanic called Rage Mode, which causes Hibiki to go into a more bloodthirsty state, making her excited when she gets the kill shots with her supers, implying her alternate ending might have happened to her in this timeline. Though this is just a guest appearance, so I like to think of it as a good old what-if scenario.
発症。
勝負あり。
勝者高根響。
嘘よ。
Number 3.
僕が味わえアンゲル様の妙義を回って
Angel from the King of Fighters is a professional wrestler who has a lot of moving parts to her game plan. She's all about going into moves that can chain into other moves that can chain into other moves, and so on. Some are grabs, while others are just ways to mix up or trip up the opponent. And one of her most unique follow-ups is her super move, Survivor's Banquet. It only works when the opponent has been knocked down, and not just in a combo when they're on the ground. If they're just on the ground after a standard attack that knocks them down, it can be a super move that hits them because they're taking too long to get up. Though if on Hell delays the super too long, or if the opponent rolls after they've been knocked down, the attack will whiff and you waste a whole bunch of meter, and as mentioned, you can't just do this super move raw to show that it's one hit, but if you input the super at the right time after your opponent is on the ground, you're treated to an awesome animation where on Hell monologues while doing a few quick teleport-like motions, and ends it with the Rock's people's elbow to the floored opponent. And to note, this is just a single hit in the King of Fighters 2002 Unlimited match. In the original version of King of Fighters 2002, you had to hit your counter super first, but since Unlimited match was the main game I played on Hell in, I've always known it as a standalone one-hit super. The King of Fighters in general was tough to narrow down to a single rep, since there are at least a dozen characters with a one-hit super move. However, I couldn't resist the time they made the People's Elbow one hit of pain. Not only that, but her monologue translates to a parallel of The Rock's catchphrase, "Can you smell what The Rock is cooking?" being, "Can you taste the On Hell's extraordinary skill?" Holy crap, that is such a good gag. Not only is she a skilled wrestler, but she's a comedic genius.
ドクター味わえアンヘル様の妙義を回って回って
KO ウィナー
所詮あにゃたはカモなのにゃ
Number 2.
始めよう。いや終わらせよう。驚愕たる権限の獣、奥に宿るケリケラータ、巣よりハイで打ち食らうんだ。終わらない悪夢。ブレイクだ。よくわからないけど、念入りに切り刻んでおこう。
Byakuya from Under Night in Birth is a guy with floating scythes behind him that go with a spider theme since there are 8 of them. They release energy that takes the form of a web to trap the opponent if they touch it, so it's great for combo setups. And for his biggest super, he starts with the web. Once the opponent gets ensnared by it on startup, he creeps in from a distance, appearing in the shadows and disappearing a few times, before lurking right behind the opponent for a single attack with all 8 legs at once. And as the hit counter shows, this is all just one hit, so that's good enough for me. I was skeptical that the web startup would be a hit, but I guess it's more incidental, like, oops, you got caught in my web, might as well do this cinematic super move while you're stuck there. And if you don't kill your opponent with the super, it's nice enough to reset them mid-screen after it's done. As for the cinematic, I appreciate all the animation work that goes into this game, but they really saved budget here by just using PowerPoint animation mixed with voiceover and step sound effects before the final hit. My favorite description of this is by my friend Professor Oates, who calls it Byakuya's approaching .jpeg.
巣よりハイで打ち食らうんだ。終わらない悪夢。ブレイクだ。君、ほんと口だけだね。
For number 1, I wasn't sure if I should go with some flashy one-hit cutscene or an attack that has some utility to it. But you know, you don't need an elaborate animation to be iconic. Number 1.
You win!
Spencer's Bionic Lancer Hyper Combo, specifically in the Marvel vs. Capcom 3 games, is one of those attacks that's useful in-game and has a lot of meme factor to it. Spencer punches forward at a high speed while propelling himself with his bionic arm and yelling, "Bionic Arm!"
Bionic Arm!
For utility, this is a great super. It's invincible on startup, so it avoids attacks, and it can punch through most normal moves, so it avoids attacks that way too. And when it impacts, it sends the opponent flying upwards, so if you use it mid-combo, you can likely hit the opponent for more damage afterwards and potentially just KO them. In fact, you can usually get multiple Bionic Lancers in a single combo, and with X Factor, a universal mechanic that buffs your character for a limited time and cancels them out of their move animation when you activate it to extend your combos, I've seen people land this super 5 times in a single combo. It's just that good. I'm not a Spencer player, so I can't demonstrate it on my own. And with the speed and trajectory of this super, it's great for a delayed hyper combo, which is when one of Spencer's partners is doing their hyper combo, you can call him in to do his hyper combo mid-animation. But utility is all well and good. The meme factor is also why this single hit super super is more memorable than some of the other single-hit supers in the game. The fact that he yells Bionic Arm when he does this attack has made it a hit for crowds to yell alongside him in tournaments. Just the way he yells Bionic Arm as he uses his Bionic Arm is a level of straightforwardness that creates peak humor. Even though I've been calling this super by its listed name, everyone else, including me, just calls this super Bionic Arm because of what he yells. Not to mention, he has a lot of quotes where he just talks about his Bionic Arm to add to the camp. Like, yes, it's your Bionic Arm, thank you.
Bionic Arm! Activated!
And when you use the delayed hyper combo, the incoming character has a different line during the startup animation, but keeps any lines during the attack itself. So there are instances where Spencer just yells, ARM!
It's all good!
Final note, this version of Spencer is from the 2009 Bionic Commando reboot. Original Bionic Commando was a platformer where you beat up bad guys with a pretty standard good versus evil story. 2009 tried to be more gritty and story-driven, which Capcom was just randomly doing with their franchises every few years at this point. See Final Fight Streetwise before it, and DMC 2013 after it. The game bombed, so the next Bionic Commando went back to the more classic gameplay and Spencer design. But because the reboot was the most recent game in the series when Marvel vs. Capcom 3 came out, this Spencer was used and kinda became more iconic due to how beloved his playstyle was. Similar to how Tron Bonne's open roof design made for Marvel vs. Capcom is more well known to some than the full-size giant mech from her Mega Man Legend games. And with this design being reboot Spencer, that technically means the plot point only in the reboot that the soul of his deceased wife is in his bionic arm could be relevant here. So when he hits you with his super, he's getting help from the soul of his wife. It also must be awkward for her when his arcade mode ending has him go on a beat-em-up date with She-Hulk. Regardless, for being useful in combos and just being fun to yell out, Spencer's Bionic Arm is number 1 of the one-hit supers.
Bionic! You win! How could I lose? I got a bionic arm.
Now, what did you think? Were all these one-hit supers wonderful, or could some of them have used a few more hits to bring out their flair? And what are some of your favorite single-hit supers, whether I discussed them or not? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.